On a jam-packed episode to start the week, we have some great Model 3 info, a new Supercharger policy, Tesla is winning awards for inclusion, and a new mobile connector is released. This is Tesla Tidbits episode number 337 for December 18th, 2017. We'll start tonight with a quick note from the Tesla Show's Twitter account that yet another batch of configuration invites went out as of their tweet back on Thursday night, followed by another batch on Friday night. The invites are going out fast and furious now. Any of my listeners out there that get their invites, feel free to let me know. I love sharing the joy with you folks. Over to YouTube now and the Now You Know channel. They're currently doing a series of videos on the 12 days of Model 3, and the fourth day should be of interest to those of us taller folks out there. They bring in a fellow Tesla fan and Model S owner who is 6'7" tall and show the whole gamut of things concerning tall folks about the car. This includes driving and as a passenger. The result is that he does indeed feel comfortable in the car, both driving and surprisingly in the rear seats, despite a 6-foot tall man sitting in front of him. Let's be clear, he didn't look exactly comfortable back there, but he did fit, his knees were not pinned to the seat, and he did actually have a tiny bit of footroom. Speaking as a tall person at 6'4" tall, that's amazing. Friends of mine generally concede the front seat to me if I'm not driving, as putting me in the rear of nearly any mid to small sized car means that I did something to make you very angry at me, and you're enjoying the schadenfreude as I contort my body to fit. On the driving side, he did really have the same problems even I have in a Model S with knees and the steering wheel, but also, as he said, these are things we tall folks basically deal with in any car equally. It's a 7-minute video, so if you're tall like me, or even if you're not, and you just want to drool over a pretty red Model 3 in detail, go check it out. The big news over the weekend is the new Supercharger fair use policy issued by Tesla. Electrek has the story, and most of us will be unaffected by this switch, but there's a few of you out there that I'm sure will be interested. Starting December 15th, any new or used Tesla purchased falls under this policy, which disallows any use of the Supercharger network, not even if the use is paid for. Those already in service are still permitted to use the Superchargers as normal. This is seemingly aimed at fleet owners using Superchargers more as a way to keep their fleets on the road in a faster manner than anything. The legal page detailing the commercial purposes now forbidden includes taxis, ride-sharing, ostensibly outside the forthcoming Tesla network, commercially delivering or transporting goods, government purposes, or any other commercial venture. Tesla states that if owners do not comply, it is indeed possible to, quote, limit or block their vehicle's ability to use Supercharger stations, end quote. This does make sense, as at one time way back when, lifetime supercharging access was an add-on for some vehicles. Obviously, that capability hasn't gone away. Tesla says that it will offer alternatives to the Supercharger network for commercial purposes, though there is no elaboration here. I suspect this may take the form of the urban chargers that are now being deployed to some areas, but that's nothing more than my hunch at this point. If any of you out there would be affected by this and get a solid answer on what that new solution is, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or via email at podcast@teslatidbits.com. On to some better news. Courtesy of Tesla's own Twitter account, the company has scored a 100 out of 100 on the Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equality Index for 2018, its fourth straight year with a perfect score. The organization describes the survey as, quote, the national benchmarking tool on corporate policies and practices pertinent to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer employees, end quote. In the report, 609 companies earned a flawless score, and Tesla was among those companies. I took a glance at this over 100-page report, and it is indeed very comprehensive in its evaluation. This is certainly no light reading, and so I have to hand it to the companies earning a flawless mark, as they're definitely doing it right as it relates to the inclusion of the LGBTQ community. The evaluation evolves as new issues arise, and this report does show the history of the survey and what is expected to earn a perfect score, and what will be expected in subsequent years. As I always say on this show, Tesla again and again shows itself to do things right even if it's not convenient or even financially detrimental, and it's stories like these that continue to reinforce that opinion. Finally tonight on the news front, Electrek calls out that Tesla has released a new, cheaper mobile connector on the online store. The Gen 2 connector, as Tesla is officially calling it, now only sets you back $300 instead of $500, but there is a catch to this. The new UMC is only capable of a 32 amp charge rate as opposed to 40 amps coming from the previous generation UMC. The previous generation's modular UMC that allowed you to switch in and out the appropriate plug connector is now gone from the store, though the hardwired NEMA 1450 version does still exist, so those that want a 40 amp capable solution can still get it. The store description notes that this is, quote, included as standard equipment with your Tesla vehicle, end quote. While we've seen that this connector shipped with the Model 3, we've not seen it shipped with a Model S or Model X, so this may be a potential downgrade for those purchasing these cars and wanting to charge via NEMA 1450. By my calculation, this nets 7.68 kilowatts of charging, where the Gen 1 connector previously gave 9.6. This means a 20% slower charge rate for the new connector. Probably not a deal breaker for most, but just something to be aware of. And this certainly makes the high-power wall connector a far more attractive item as a stationary charging station, as it's far more flexible from a power perspective than the Gen 2 UMC is. I wanted to end tonight on another upbeat note, and that's for those of you supporting the show on Patreon. They have decided, at least for the moment, to keep their fee structure unchanged. After those of us on the creator side sort of blew up their social media and inboxes, they saw that the change that they were making, though they did have the best of intentions, really was trying to solve a problem most of us creators didn't actually believe existed. I thank everyone for sticking with me through the situation. And on a Patreon note, I'm actually looking to create a new tier beyond the Super Patron tier. In the spirit of the Tesla Charge Network naming scheme, I'll be calling this the Mega Patron tier. What I'd like to know is what you'd be interested in as a reward for such a tier. I've pondered airing production of the show live and or releasing an unedited version of the show so you can hear me swear my way through recording as a couple of possibilities. But those are only a couple of ideas, and I'm sure my creative listeners out there can give me some more. With that, let's wrap up the show. Make sure you check out the links to the full stories in the show description. While you're at it, check out that Patreon at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits. We've got another new Super Patron this week. Thanks very much to Adam Raymer Brown for joining the ranks of the Super Patrons supporting the show at the $10 plus level. He joins John Waltower, Drew Schuyler, John Waller, Mark and Sarah Thomas, Ryan Scarborough, Lee Sweet, William Henry Crew III, Dorian Steve Guberman, Bruno Quindici, John Rich, Joey Boots, and Ralph and Cheryl Waterhouse. Be sure to show your love on YouTube, iTunes, and other services across the internet, or use the show referral code TS.LA/JON4602 if you're in the market for a new Tesla. It's good for free supercharging for the life of the vehicle. But hurry, you've only got until the end of the year to use it. That's it for today. If you have feedback for me, the best way to be heard is to tweet at Tesla Tidbits. I'll see everyone back here again tomorrow. Until then, keep it charged and hit the road.